What's up guys, it's your boy VP Bradley and I am back with another video. Today, we're going to rank the games from the Sonic Dark era. I'm just going to be doing the main console games here and not going to focus on any games like Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games or any of the DS spin-offs. If you're familiar with the Dark era of Sonic, then you know that this is a span of about 5 years where the Sonic franchise saw a bad rep. However, most fans would argue that this was the best era for Sonic and Friends personalities, stories, and overall characters. This era began when the 4Kids voice cast took over and Jason Griffith became the lead voice actor, voicing the Blue Blur himself. So, we all know what the Dark era is, come on. But, let's rank the main games. I would say there were 5 main games released in this time frame of 2005 to 2009, including Shadow, 06, Secret Rings, Unleashed, and Black Knight. Let's get right into it. Growing up, I loved playing Sonic and the Secret Rings on my Wii. It was just another fun Sonic game for me to mess around with. I never noticed the bad motion controls or anything like that. I was just having a good time, man. However, I tried this game again recently, and yeah, it's unfortunately near unplayable for me now, which kinda sucks. Secret Rings leads Sonic into the Arabian Nights, and we see a blend between the stories as Tails, Knuckles, etc. become characters such as Sinbad. Yet, Sonic is still Sonic, because, you know, reasons. That being said, I enjoy Secret Rings' aesthetic, art design, soundtrack, and even the settings. Not to mention the multiplayer mode, which was that Mario Party ripoff, which is actually pretty fun too. The game also has some awesome cutscenes, and I think the voice acting is great.
My third wish! Eraser Jin, you shall live out the rest of time trapped inside your lamp as you were in days of old!
It just all boils down to that near unplayable level of motion control. Sega obviously wanted to cash in on the Wii's motion gimmick, and it just didn't really work. Secret Rings will always have a special place in my heart due to nostalgia, but man, it's just a pain in the to play now. Next up, we go to Mr. Edgy the Hedgy himself. This was the first game that began the Dark era, and it couldn't have been a funnier introduction. I mean, they have every character in this game saying damn and hell, which is hilarious. Shadow uses guns and is a rude and edgy boy. This game is unironically the funniest Sonic game by a wide margin. The stories are all pretty bad, with most ending as Shadow takes over the world, or he saves it. But then again, none of the actual overlapping stories even matter. If you've never played Shadow, I'd recommend just watching the SnapCube fandub instead.
Hey, what's up? It's me.
Stop!
So, the gameplay for Shadow. Like I said, there are overlapping stories in this game. I think there's like 8. So that's a lot of fun. You get to these different stories based on what you accomplish in the game. So like if you defeat the gun soldier / the military, you're an evil, edgy boy. And if you defeat aliens, you're a good guy. Oh, did I mention that Shadow has guns in this game? Because he absolutely does. The gameplay, you know, Shadow's gameplay is basically just a more slippery version of Adventure 2. It's not unplayable, but it's by no means fun. This one barely beats out Secret Rings simply due to the fact that you can actually control the character. I would pretty much say Secret Rings has a beat in every other aspect, but the gameplay is the most important part, so.
That's a pretty snazzy performance there.
Next up, we have the single most controversial game in the entire franchise, Sonic 06. I'm not going into any of the fine details. You've all seen this, heard it, and been hammered into your brain for years. In my opinion, 06 isn't even that bad. I enjoy that each character gets their own time to shine, as well as the ambitious lengths they went to with side missions and hub worlds. However, this is definitely overshadowed by some buggy gameplay, albeit I don't think it's the most unpolished gameplay I've ever dealt with. I mean, Secret Rings was way worse. I think 06, if finished, would definitely be one of the best Sonic games. Project 2006, which is that PC fan game made by Chaos X, is one of my favorite Sonic games easily. But back to 06. I think 06 is overhated. Is it a great game in my opinion? Nah. When I play it, do I want to jump off a cliff? No, I don't. Playing as Sonic, Shadow, and Blaze are actually pretty fun. It was nice to have the options to play as multiple characters, although I will say Knuckles and Amy are not exactly the best. I can also recognize the terrible frame rate at parts, things just not working sometimes, and the list goes on and on. Shadow's story in Sonic 06 was awesome. Mephiles was an amazing character and truly was a menace to the societies. I'd love to see him back as a ghost or something to haunt Shadow. Sonic's story was okay, it was just a bit generic, and the dynamic with Elise is, you know. Silver's story is also pretty interesting, and the ending with Blaze is actually kind of emotional.
When you think of me, think of approximate gratitude.
Not to mention, Sonic 06 also has one of my favorite soundtracks in the entire series. Every level has perfect music and there's no questioning that in my eyes. I also think the graphics were pretty good for its time and I appreciate the exploration and different pathways in each level. This game did a lot of stuff right, but was unfortunately rushed out the gate. If it had another 2 years to cook, I think Sonic 08 could have been a real gem. But then again, we got what we got. It's time to stop hating on this game and just move on, man.
Oh, I get it. No problem. I'm used to stuff like this.
The final game in the Dark Era was definitely an interesting one. Sonic and the Black Knight is the sequel to Secret Rings, and it follows that same motion control gimmicks that Secret Rings had. However, where the two differ majorly is that you can actually control Sonic. Oh my god, the bare minimum for a game, let's go. In Secret Rings, it was just an auto runner. In Black Knight, you use the Wii Remote and the nunchuck to move Sonic with the joystick. This alone makes the game way better than Secret Rings. Plus, it's Sonic with a freaking sword. How cool is that? Black Knight tosses Sonic into the King Arthur fairy tale, and he just kind of accepts it once again. He's like, yeah, okay, I'm here. I think the story's pretty cool, and this was definitely Jason Griffith's absolute peak voicing Sonic in my eyes.
Oh, I get it. No problem. I'm used to stuff like this.
The voice is just perfect for his character. Black Knight does so many things well. It has exciting and fast-paced gameplay, while also having a fun, although relatively basic, combat system. This game knows what it wants to be, and that's a run-and-slash Sonic game. You'll be shaking the Wii Remote to swing the sword, so maybe you'll develop slight death from it, but it's worth it for that Excalibur Sonic transformation. The reason why I find Black Knight so interesting is that it feels like a completely out-of-the-park turn for Sonic. Like, sure, the whole Dark Era had some interesting and funny places to put Sonic in, but this one is just so unique. I mean, who could have ever seen this coming? Sonic being given a sword and turned into a knight? It's so dope! Black Knight also follows suit to the previous games with an absolute killer soundtrack. Every track fits each level perfectly. Night of the Wind is probably my favorite Sonic song. This game has some amazing set pieces, and I love what they did with the art design. I mean, just look how cool Shadow, Blaze, and Knuckles look. Black Knight would likely be number one if it was a boost game or a more adventure-style game, but the one thing that holds it back are definitely those motion control gimmicks. They're definitely not as bad as Secret Rings, but at the end of the day, motion controls are still motion controls. At number 1, this should not come at much surprise to anyone. Sonic Unleashed is in my top 3 Sonic games of all time. Where can I even begin with this game? Well, first off, I'd like to acknowledge the Wii version, which was my version growing up. Unleashed isn't on this list, as we're just going to be talking about the Xbox 360/PS3 version, but it was overall a fun experience too, and I think it's pretty underrated. Unleashed took everything about modern Sonic that people loved and threw it into the high-speed, action-packed day stages. Obviously, We know that when it becomes nighttime, Unleashed turns the game into a God of War hack-a-slash. So let's just get it out of the way. Let's talk about the night stages first. Most criticism and reviews of this game stem from day stage equals good, night stage equals bad. And while I can respect that, I also disrespectfully disagree. I just think the night stages are a bit overhated, you know what I mean? Why do they exist? I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. But do they exist? Are they polished? Are they finished? Yes, yes, and yes. If you upgrade the Hedgehog's stats, you can actually do a lot of the night stages pretty fast. You'll destroy enemies in no time. I think the only parts of the night stages that really hurt them for me are the slow platforming sections and like the puzzles. I feel like they could be a bit more innovative, you know what I mean? But the point being made here, the night stages are not terrible. Do they slow down the pace? Yes. Do I wish they were removed in favor of more day stages? Oh, absolutely. Do I hate them? Not a chance. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's talk about the real bread and butter of Sonic Unleashed, the day stages. Peak Sonic, as some would say. These stages have you blasting through anything and everything, and it completely revitalized Sonic as we knew him. It truly made you feel like Sonic when you were playing it, something I feel like only generations managed to capture well in the future. Sonic Unleashed day stages alone are enough for me to put this one at number 1. It's just truly one of the most fun experiences you'll have with a Sonic game. High speed, challenging platforming, and good level length. The soundtrack and level design for Unleashed are both top tier. The story is pretty good in all honesty. Dark Gaia is pretty memorable. There's a feeling of anticipation building up to the final boss with that epic Supersonic versus Perfect Dark Gaia track. This game just feels like an adventure. Wait, I mean it feels like an Unleashed. There, I fixed it. Overall, Unleashed is a Sonic game that has so much replayability and content within it that we'll be playing it for years to come. Side missions and medals to find can be a pain sometimes, but I never really minded them. Overall, this game definitely takes the cake for me, a definite light spot in an overall dark era for the Blue Blur. The dark era for Sonic was just so cool. It was a nice blend of edginess with the heart and energy we expect from Sonic. We got to see some experimentation, passion, and love put into these games, even if they were mostly rushed and unfinished. These games are very important because they remind us of what the characters in this franchise have the potential to be. Sonic is heroic, yet also ambitious and snarky. Tails is courageous and always looking for ways to improve. Knuckles isn't a total idiot. And Shadow isn't always the elementary school bully. Regardless, it seems that they're taking a more dark era approach to the story for Sonic Frontiers, which is really exciting to see. Hopefully we get to see something similar with the quality of the game also being there. So yeah, that's my list. Sonic Unleashed takes my number 1 from the dark era. Let me know how you rank these games and hit that subscribe button for more Sonic content. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.